Hey Virgo. Welcome to March 2020 Tarot and Astrology. This is for Virgo, Sun, Moon and Rising. Whew. Good news. Saturn shifting out of Capricorn and into Aquarius. You'll like that. Because Saturn is, of course, for you, in your sector of fun, in your sector of creativity, in your sector of love. Particularly for Virgo rising, you have learned quite a few lessons over the last 3 years. And the lessons will serve you well with Jupiter remaining there. It's the interesting dance between Jupiter and Saturn is that when Saturn leaves a particular sign, when Jupiter follows, it gives you abundance in that area. It shows you what it can be. And it's no exception for romance. Venus moves into Taurus, fellow Earth sign. Venus is also in her happy place in Taurus. Feels good. Gives romance this added boost for you. Mars remains in Capricorn until the very last day of the month and it moves into Aquarius. Now Mars is pushing you and it's giving you this va-va-voom and this appeal, but it's also really pushing you. And it wants you to see where you have been slacking in terms of your relationships. 7 of Pentacles. For those of you that have been steadily trying to build something, it could all feel very cataclysmic. My pronunciation's not great, and it's only because I'm doing your video and you guys scare me with pronunciations and grammar and stuff. But whatever. 7 of Pentacles and the Death card. It has felt with Saturn being in Capricorn that it has been one dead end after another, particularly in love and sometimes with your passions and sometimes just with your energy. The things that set your soul on fire have just felt like they get to a certain point and then it just feels like enough is enough. 5 of Wands, 8 of Wands, the Hierophant and the Queen of Cups. Very, very strong Scorpio energy in the middle of your reading, also Taurus. Significant people in your life in March, I am sure. So the things that you have been building towards, the effort that you've been putting in, suddenly feels very shattered. It suddenly feels like you have to throw it all up in the air and say enough is enough. You feel taken advantage of, or you feel like something was a dead end and you really, really, really tried. But you have to question if you knew that it was a dead end, Virgo. If you knew that a certain project just wasn't really going to go anywhere deep down, if a certain relationship just really wasn't going to go anywhere deep down, you feel like you have been watering and watering and watering, and now things seem to be teetering on the edge of absolute destruction. And it's typical with your nature, you don't really like to admit defeat in the same way that Leos do, but you do it discreetly. But Pisces season putting such pressure on your relationships, Virgo, means that you are willing to get quite testy for your points, for the things that you want to explain, the things that you want to say. 5 of Wands, 8 of Wands, when it comes to communication, Mercury has been retrograde in Pisces. And of course, when it moves into Aquarius in particular, that puts you into a little bit of a tailspin. Because when it comes to work, you feel 10 times more under pressure. The work situation is irritating you at the minute. People are irritating you at the minute. People are coming and going, and people are possibly, quite likely, taking advantage of your good nature and telling you things you'd rather not hear and doing things you'd rather not see, and you've kind of had enough is enough. And when it gets to the full moon in your sign, you are ready to explode because Mercury goes direct that day and you can no longer hold your tongue on certain things that you've seen. Careful though. If it's with a love relationship, your tongue could cost you the whole thing if you really, really let go. So what do you do instead? You start to think of the things that you loved to do as a child. You start to think of the things that made you excited, that made you happy, and you throw yourself into them for an hour or two, and you think this is not so bad. You do it for yourself, you do it without any need for recognition, you do it without any need for input or any time with anybody else. You take that mode that you do so well, which is why you're the Hermit card in the tarot, and you let yourself be free from these challenges for a while. The Star, and that is what brings back healthy perspective and a bit of connection to what it is that you want. The thing about Venus being in Taurus is that your 9th house of philosophy, of higher education, of higher learning, all gets lit up in a beautiful way that connects you to your mind. Your most prized possession is your mind. You're ruled by Mercury for now. And Mercury, of course, has been doing that dance, but I think you'll see something pretty nice come out of Venus and Taurus, particularly if you're dealing with a water sign. A Cancer, a Scorpio, a Pisces. The Pisces season in general is quite good for you and could give you a lot of changes in perspectives. Possibly a different way of doing things. A different structure, a different process. The Sun, the 9 of Wands, and the 7 of Swords. But for some reason, Virgo, you are willing still, when your mood has passed, to defend people that are doing things they really shouldn't be doing, or possibly you yourself feel like you can get away with doing something you wouldn't usually do. Best not to chance something like that when a full moon in your sign runs around, because this full moon in particular is opposite Neptune, displaying deceit in everyone that partakes in it. There's a feeling of suspicion, there's a feeling of somewhat melancholic dismay, particularly with love and romance, but interestingly, love and romance is abound. Neptune in Pisces is where it should be, and opposite your full moon, your annual full moon, I don't think you got one last year, I could be wrong. But this full moon is helping all of us clean up. And what do you need to clean up? You need to clean up why you're willing to bend over backwards for people that are continuously taking from you in not such a nice way, or are continuously speaking about you in not such a nice way. And if you're suspecting a Leo of doing something they shouldn't be, I think that you could very well be correct. What they're doing, I don't know, but ironically, if you have been deceived by a Leo in a big way, shape or form, Virgo, in the last year, you start to see why that had to happen. Ace of Cups and the World, a new beginning and a successful closure. How does that work? You leave when you're winning. You move on when you're winning. Whether that's from work or whether that is from a romantic relationship, you're winning, you can go now. You can start afresh, you can have something new, you can finally see where Saturn was going to bless you with something brand new, a particular lesson, in order for you to find something satisfactory and fulfilling in your emotional life, where you feel like you're actually getting something back. It's been very challenging for Virgo's relationships, for Virgo's romances, particularly for those of you that are not in strong bonds, those of you that are not in long-term relationships or marriages. It's been very difficult for Virgos to kind of know where they stand with people at times. And you naturally feel a little bit defensive about it, particularly when it comes to planning a future with somebody, or when it comes to moving on to pastures new with career. And we've been pushing you for a long time to do that, to see your worth, to see that you have options, to see that you have the energy of the magician. But you've been so fixated on the Leo people, or the Leo energy, the Strength card and the Ace of Wands, the pursuing of a relationship that was far, far too heavy. You've been so busy trying to fix somebody else that you have missed where people in your career are continuously screwing you over. And if you have not been concentrating so much on somebody in your personal life and what they've been doing, you've been ignoring it because you don't want to be disliked. But I think after the full moon in your sign, you're going to see where you would happily risk that for the sake of integrity. Saturn going into Aquarius is going to really teach you a few things in terms of your habits, and it is going to be an eye-opener for you guys in particular, as you are the ruler of the 6th house, and your habits, as you know, create your destiny. So if you've got a couple of things that you'd really like to change and really like to root out, it's going to be an interesting time to do that. And I think you're getting the first indication that something in your life has to give. Because you cannot keep watering a dead plant. In the middle of your cards, we have the Hierophant, and it is telling you that your thinking, your higher ideologies, require some fine-tuning. And if you want to know what you could do a little bit differently, ask your water sign friends, because they have advice, they have guidance, they have a lot of tools that will nourish you. Because as an earth sign, you require water from time to time, even if you don't necessarily agree with their fluidity on certain issues. You're still a mutable sign. You're still capable. The Sun card coming after the Death card is a sign that the change that is going on around you, quite large since January, it's a big year. The change going on around you is benefiting you to bring you towards something brighter. It usually does, but it really, really wants to show you the star, the sun, the galaxies. Protection, call back your power, cut the cords, soul retrieval. Something that is connecting you very deeply to the past needs to be acknowledged. Something or someone that you cannot get over, that was a source of frustration, that was watering that dead plant, that was not working, that was challenging you at every corner. You were challenging them. The communication was not good. You still have some sort of feeling about that, and the same feeling, whether it's that you still love the person, whether it's that you feel resentful of the person, whether you're angry at someone, that energy, that deep feeling is requiring some sort of cord cutting. And this is your annual full moon. It is the perfect time to do that. It is a super moon. It is time to charge yourself. It is time to release yourself from an energy connection to someone that's still draining it. Because the more energy that you're putting into that person or that relationship, whether you're angry at them, whether you're still in love with them, it is draining you and it needs to go if you want to flourish. Answer the call. What is your soul calling you to do? But I also think, Virgo, if you get a phone call around the Virgo full moon, I think it's very, very important that you answer. You might not be expecting it, but it's very important that you answer. Call back. What is your soul calling you to do? We've been asking you that for a while. And you see Virgos really go to the top all the time. We think of the regulars. We think of, obviously, Beyonce, because I think every Virgo mentions that Beyonce's a Virgo. Obviously, the saddest case in the US was Kobe Bryant. Regardless of what your feelings are, I don't know much about him, to be honest, but I always find it interesting to know about people, you know, for the astrology aspect of things. I like to look into people's charts when something big happens, and the Virgo energy seems to be one that can really, really go very, very, very far in their field because they are perfectionists about it. The difficulty lies, Virgo, in you putting your perfectionist and your natural gifts into areas that are dead ends, that are dead plants, as I call them, and really wasting that talent. You know, you need the passion of it. And that is why I think you should talk to the water signs in your life, because that passion has been a little bit depleted with Saturn being there. And that's about to change. Saturn will step back into Capricorn, but by the end of 2020, it will be in your work sector. And I think you'll be a little bit more comfortable with that. I think you'll be a little bit more comfortable with that because it will be pressing you to do the things that come naturally to you. And you can ease up and have a little bit more fun, you know? And you'll also be able to see where you've maybe been neglecting your health a little bit and rest. Pisces season is not just about your relationships. That full moon is coming up as far more important. It looks good. I will see you in the extended. Bye, Virgo.